If you're driving, please remember to use your car's Bluetooth speaker while listening to the AM Drive. Sports talk is not worth your safety or the safety of others.
Grab your popcorn and sit back.
Jump the gun. Oh, no, give me more than that. Okay, go this way. That was dumb. We are.
How could I tell you when nobody wants to? Ill-fated words I will choke.
Happy Friday to every Uno in the sports universe. This is the AM Drive, and we are live for Aaron Crouch in Hurricane Las Vegas. I am Michael. Good. I am Michael Carvelis in Savannah-ish, Georgia. Aaron, how has your week been, sir?
Week's been good. I mean, I feel like I'm in such a routine nowadays that nothing much changes.
Don't you just love kids?
Yeah, I do.
Or you like your kid?
I like my kid. I like other kids too, but it's okay to walk away from them. I can't walk away from my kid.
Yeah, don't do that. Go to mikeandaarondrive.com for the best in our merchandise, among other things, but you can find our shop on that website. It's our link tree, but we got a cute little name for it. Again, mikeandaarondrive.com, the best way to support our show. Well, we talked about this Shohei Ohtani resting his elbow thing, and then it turns out it was a big deal, and it was a big burger, not a nothing burger. Aaron, this is wild. I hate to ask the seller's remorse question again. It's kind of awkward timing, but are the Angels having seller's remorse right now?
No.
Okay.
I actually, if you can believe this, I believe if this is not a complete tear, again, UCL tears can.
Oh, Aaron.
As
okay,
to
what were you
how
saying? Hold on, you froze up for like 2 seconds. I'll start what you were saying
okay,
again.
am I back?
Yeah, you're good now.
But basically, UCL tears can basically come in different forms.
Right.
And if this is a light UCL tear, even if it is all the way up to having to have Tommy, whoa, how are we doing today?
That was good.
If we do have to end up having Tommy John surgery here, I think this actually benefits. I know this sounds bad, but I think this actually benefits the Angels in free agency.
Good point.
I think a lot of other teams are going to be hesitant now, saying, "Look, this guy's had 2 Tommy John surgeries. You know, do we really want to invest $500, $600, $700 million in Shohei Ohtani if 1, he's not even going to play next year, or 2, he's not a pitcher anymore?" Because I think there's a strong chance he may not be a starting pitcher ever again. Maybe a reliever, maybe a closer, but I think there's a really strong chance that this guy never is a starter again. And I think it would be smart for his career. He's a great outfielder. He's a great DH. He can obviously hit. That's evidenced by he's leading the league in home runs this year.
Like 40-some, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not to take away from him. He's an incredible starting pitcher, but if you can put less stress on that arm and bring him in, what if you brought him in for, middle relief? You get guys who go 5 innings, you bring him in 6, 7, and 8. He still can stay in the game. Or if you have him come in and close the door in the 9th, I think that you've got to figure out a new situation. And I'm gonna say that other teams, Dodgers, Yankees, Mets, etc., aren't going to want to pony up. $500-600 million. Now, are the Angels stupid for doing that? No, I don't think so. I still think this guy can sell tickets and cover the cost of his contract. But I think this actually gives the Angels a leg up in free agency if it is the more serious this injury is. I know that sounds bad. You understand what I'm saying, though, right?
No, I understand what you're saying. Is it – if you're a contender, though, I see your point with, like, he's not even going to play, next year if that is the case. But if you're a person like a GM investing that has a little bit of, like, 1 or 2 years to give, would you rather invest that way, or would you have to be a contender, you think?
Well, that's the thing. It's like, okay, we have to see what happens in the open market. I think the Angels are obviously going to make a push. They know, this is their staff. They know what the timetable is. Obviously, like I said, if there's Tommy John surgery on the table here, it's all of this year and all of next year. It is what it is. He's still hitting right now, which to me is amazing because the Angels are out. They're out. They're just out of it. I know they're not mathematically out of it, but they're done. They're done. They made their push at the trade deadline. It failed miserably. Yeah, this franchise is cursed. I swear to God, they're cursed.
You said it like 3 years ago when we start, or 2 years ago when we started the show. They're snake bitten, and you were right.
Yeah. So I'm surprised that he's still continuing to play, but that's neither here nor there. For me, it's just, if I'm the Dodgers, like, you're a win now team, and investing $500-600 million just doesn't make fiscal sense. I know that there's no salary cap, but there are wallets that eventually dry up. I mean, who else has time like this? I mean, who else has time and money and resources? I don't know.
I mean, if Angels could get him for cheap, and like you said, it might be cheap as in like, not as much as other teams would give him. It would kind of be. That's a good point, because I was thinking seller's remorse. That was my first thought, but you bring up a good angle on that one.
I mean, I can understand the seller's remorse. You didn't get any pieces for him, but
best case scenario, he tore his UCL. Whoa.
I mean, this is a bounce back in your direction if you're the Angels, and you're just praying that it's not Tommy John. But
you have leverage.
If I'm any other team, even if I'm the Angels, I'm like, hey man, like, I don't think starting pitching is in your future. It seems that over the course of the season, twice now, you've kind of broken down. I mean, it's not your fault. It's usage. It's happening to so many of these pitchers, and all these pitchers are getting Tommy John surgery. They're not even hitting. I mean, this guy's legitimately still playing. I mean, I think he can play the outfield. I think he can obviously DH, and I don't see a problem with, like I said, reliever innings or even a closer. I mean, can you imagine Shohei Ohtani coming in the ninth with a 1 or 2 run lead and just firing off 101 mile an hour rockets? I mean,
and also already had hit 2 home runs earlier in the game.
Exactly. And you don't have to take him out of the game. You just adjust the rotation or adjust the lineup. So I don't know.
Now, is this Aaron AM Drive speculation, or have you actually read somewhere like they might consider doing that? Like taking him out of the pitching rotation completely in the future.
I've heard people talk about it now. A lot of people don't come back from 2 Tommy John surgeries.
Wow.
So if he ends up having to have surgery again, it just doesn't make sense to do this. Like, it's the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting something different to happen. So for me, if I'm Shohei Ohtani, I know I want to pitch. I've got to figure out a way that I can still pitch, but it's not going to affect my future, because I think this UCL tear may have cost him at least $100 to $200 million. It's crazy to think about those numbers, but
it is. I guess like you were dreaming of buying a golden yacht, and now you're just dreaming of buying a silver yacht. It's like, oh, okay, wow, darn.
Right. I mean, like I said, I know it's not numbers that we would ever like think about in our life.
But they think about it.
Those are big numbers, and $200 million for to not have to pitch again. I mean, you may have to rethink your strategy here. I know he's Japanese. Japanese people have a lot of pride, have a lot of respect for the game. I think you've got to think about what's best for you, and if he wants to have the rest of his career, I think max he could be is like a 2-inning relief pitcher.
It's almost like we need to get those ACL doctors from the NBA and put them into whatever Tommy John is doing, because Tommy John is not doing a good job apparently if he takes a 2-year recovery thing. Well, I mean, it doesn't work the first time.
It's so weird how much this happens nowadays. Like, I mean, yes, Tommy John surgery, became a thing, I think back in the 80s, 70s or 80s, but the amount of pitchers who have the surgery now and sometimes have it twice is just astounding to me.
Well, it's like the NBA guys. Like I've said, the more and more we want them to start off younger and younger and younger, we're working them too much. Like the body can only take so much. And why have a 20-year career when you've only been playing for 5 years because the previous 15 been playing competitively as a kid.
Right, and I think you're kind of right in that aspect because we've taken off practice, we've taken so much off of the professional player, and they still get injured. So where does this injury come from? Is, like you said, is it wear and tear that just happens too early in a developing child? But all these travel ball teams and all this stuff, they're playing nonstop, and
that's what I'm saying. That's a lot of stuff. That's a lot of wear. Like, aren't these UCL and ACLs wear and tear? That's what they usually are, anyways.
Usually, I mean, more often than not, it's not a freak accident,
right?
With things like this, I mean, it
may look like it, but it gives out. But it gave out for a reason.
Yeah, ACL tears maybe a little different. Guy hits your knees, you get twisted around. That's a little bit different. But the UCL, I mean, that's our arms aren't designed to do this. So the more we do this, like you said, the wear and tear of a body. But it's hard to tell a kid, because when I was a kid, you just want to play all the time.
Yeah, and the better you are, the more you'll play.
Whether it's competitive or not, when you're a kid, you just want to play all the time. And the thing is how do you deprive kids from playing all the time? Because 99% of the kids that we're talking about don't end up becoming pros. So you get as much play in your life. I mean, I was a catcher forever, and I pay for it now with my knees, but I wouldn't give back the ability to play baseball at the levels I did, for the fun that I had. So it's a tough balance. I don't know the right answer, but this is going to continue to happen. And, tying a bow on it with Shohei, I think he should stop pitching. That's my advice. And we'll see what happens.
I like it. I like that angle a lot. MikeandAaronDrive.com for the best way to support our show, including our shop. I need a new hoodie. Mine looks kind of gross, even if it is the difference in webcams. Mine's getting kind of grainy.
Mine's still good. This is the only thing I wear it for is the show. So
we need polos. When we come back, we're talking all things National Football League. There's some drama from more running backs. So who knew? We'll be right back.
All right, and welcome back here to this Friday edition of the AM Drive, presented by our friends at Shank It Golf. If you want to look your best on the golf course, even if you're not playing your best, you got to go to shankitgolf.com or mikeandaarondrive.com and click the logo that looks just like that. Promo code when you get there is AM Drive at checkout. It gets you 15% off your entire order. It lets them know that the guys here at AM Drive sent you. And again, you'll look your best even if you're not playing your best. And for that, we are #Shankful.
Yes. I thought I was going to have to say it that time. I'm happy you did it. Good. All right. I've teased this on Twitter, and I'm going to say it now. My thoughts on Jonathan Taylor as a humble Colts fan. After the Colts have allowed Jonathan Taylor and, dare I say, his agent to seek a trade here. There's speculation that the agent has got Dolphins ties because he's got some clients on the team, and he loves Mike McDaniel based on his social media posts. We saw the same story with Dalvin Cook, to be fair, but this loser agent is different, in my opinion. This dude has taken a running back you never heard a peep from in Jonathan Taylor, turned him into a greedy, idiot loser. I don't understand, especially after his recent injury history, after all the wear and tear, speaking of that he gets, I don't understand what gives him the nerve to not only want a new agent, but also to abide by everything this agent is saying. Like, how dumb does Jonathan Taylor look from PR-wise right now? Like, people are crucifying this dude. And it gets even worse. Like, remember when he was going to come back to camp and he had a personal matter? Yeah, well, I don't care if your dog died, pal. You look stupid now. Remember I gave him the benefit of the doubt last week for that? we'll forget it because now he wants to trade. And personally, again, I probably speak for a lot of Colts fans. You're just stupid, dude. Like, what was that Zoom call about? Were you in the Zoom call? Dude, why is your agent moving you to do all these stupid things? Like, my mind is going so many places with how dumb this is. Like, and then if he doesn't want to trade, now you're at the mercy of the Colts. And I think Colts know that. I think Jim Irsay knows if they cannot find a future first rounder for him, or even a second rounder, or like some haul, they're not going to give him a trade. So learn to suck it up now, pal. I don't know what this agent's put in his head, but it is some devil stuff, man.
This one's tough for me because I agree with you in a sense of, coming off of, this is like the worst time to do what you're doing because you're coming off of a very injury-plagued season. And yes, 2 years ago, you were the NFL leader in rushing yards. And I do believe that you are in line. In my opinion, the talent, you have to play the injuries into a factor, but you have to sign people as if they're not a complete injury-plagued case until they prove to you that they are. That's not fair. So I do believe Jonathan Taylor's in line for a raise. Do I believe he should be the highest paid running back in the NFL? Not even close. I don't even believe he should be paid higher than than Derrick Henry, who's at 12, Saquon Barkley, who's at 10. I honestly think that's right around the number he probably deserves. Now, the problem is the shelf life. I think the agent is so worried about the shelf life of Jonathan Taylor and this, that, and the other, and the fact that, at $4 million, I think he's an absolute steal. He's probably worth more than that. I think that we've made that a point to say that he's worth $4 million. I get that. I agree with you. I have no problem with that. But to say you're worth $16, $17 million, it's just not in the cards for you, Jonathan. And if you can find a trade, then by all means. But like you said, we are going to want a good haul because we believe you are a top-tier running back. However, top-tier running backs don't always make top-tier money. And you're going to have to kind of realize that. And we talked about this with Josh Jacobs, with Saquon Barkley. I don't understand how these bridge deals aren't becoming a thing because Saquon's now playing on the franchise tag. Josh Jacobs, we haven't really heard much in that camp ever since the tag was slapped on Josh Jacobs.
I kind of like that more than what I'm hearing from this camp, though.
Well, yeah, I mean, from the last thing I've heard is Josh Jacobs going to show up week 1 and play on that tag. So it's kind of amazing how these two have gone in different directions. Now, obviously, Jonathan Taylor doesn't have the tag slapped on him. But here's the question is, if you're the Miami Dolphins and you decide to take on Jonathan Taylor, or if you're whoever, are you going to sign him to $15, $16 million? Are you going to agree to that before you make the trade? Like, the investment in Jonathan Taylor is not just this year. It's not just a first-round pick. Because if he was signed to like a $8, $9, $10 million deal and all you wanted was a first-round pick, he'd have been traded tomorrow. Like, he'd be traded already. But the problem is that he either, one, agrees to kind of prove it to whichever team trades for him, and they're going to have to pay him in the offseason. Or two, he's going to get slapped with a tag, which is what, $10, $11 million. Just take it now. Like, take a 3, 4. I don't know how old Jonathan Taylor is. I'm going to say 24.
24.
I'm going to guess, right around there. 4 years, $45 million. 4 years, $50 million. Like, guarantee $35 million of it. I mean, I think that's a great contract for the rest of your natural running back shelf life. I mean, it's just this position just is not valued. That's not right. It's not that it's not valued. It's just not. It's one of those positions that
it's replaceable.
Right now, in the cycle of the NFL, it's replaceable. It's not the high value position. I mean, nobody was complaining when centers and guards weren't getting paid. Nobody was complaining before left tackles got paid. No one. I mean, the position of fullback. Remember that? That used to exist. That's gone. Do we care? No, we don't care. Like, things happen in the NFL. Like, yes, at least I am. I mean, I would say a little bit of you are reminiscent of the days where you had a bell cow running back.
Right.
Like Emmitt Smith, like Adrian Peterson.
Drew.
Yeah, even Mojo was, I mean, he had a short shelf life too
but he was still like the bell cow. Like, you had that Titans guy before Derrick Henry. I forgot, like Chris Johnson.
Yeah, Chris Johnson was the last big contract I really remember that really didn't pan out. I mean, I know that Todd Gurley was a bigger contract, but I mean, remember Chris Johnson ran for 2,000 yards, and it was like, this guy's going to be fantastic, and then nothing. I mean, it's just you can't see the writing on the wall if you're Jonathan Taylor's agent, just to say, look, let me get him as much money as I can right now. And I don't know the answer to ever fixing the running back solution, but right now, like you said, it's a replaceable position, and you guys are the bug on the windshield right now.
And the sad thing is about this that makes me even angrier is that what is the agent doing for Jonathan Taylor's benefit? Like if we sit back and look at this like most fans are, like you just talked about, if we know the team's not going to get a haul for him, we know that the new team, if there is one, is not going to pay him $16 million. Then what the heck are you doing to your guy? Like, what side of this benefits you at all besides mental health? It makes you stress. Nothing comes out of it. You don't make as much as you told your guy you would. I mean, the agent's going to get fired probably. Like, because it's not going to work out. Who benefits from this? Nobody. And that's what I don't get. Like what you see with the bridge deals. Why don't they just do that? Like, they have to be thinking about these things. What is stopping them from the most logical conclusions that casual fans are coming to? It's baffling. And the fact is, by the way, the Dolphins have a really good two young running backs, a Chain and Ahmed. Those guys look really good. The Colts have got, they look like they can do running back by committee. It wouldn't be Jonathan Taylor, obviously, but do we think Jonathan Taylor pushes the needle? For even if the Chiefs got him, do we really think that changed in our minds? Wow, they're the number one team. They were already the number one team because of Patrick Mahomes. It's not Jonathan Taylor.
I think the only team that would move the needle for me if they acquire Jonathan Taylor would be the Bills.
Possibly, but they use Josh Allen so much.
Right. Well, if they stopped doing that, I mean, I don't know what James Cook is going to become, but obviously Devin Singletary wasn't the guy. James Cook could be the guy. I don't know. But, I mean, if you did acquire a guy like Jonathan Taylor and put him in that offense, I think they do become a lot better, or at least a lot more, visually like on par with the Chiefs at this point.
Right.
But like you're saying, these running back by committees are the new wave. And, when you can pay 3 or 4 guys the equivalent of one guy, it just makes the most sense. The freshest legs at the freshest times.
And probably less guaranteed.
Probably, yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. The only thing I can say in defense of the running backs to try to change this cycle up, but it's not just running backs. The only thing I can say, to offer a solution is that rookie contracts are 3 years with an option of the 4th instead of 4 years with an option of 5th. Like, add another year to their life, let them go into, because most kids are, let's say 21 by the time their rookie deal, or excuse me, 21 by the time they enter the league, 24 by the time their rookie deal's up. Then you've got your, if you're a running back, you've got your 4 to 5 years of shelf life. Like, go get yourself a contract at that point. But I mean, that's the only thing I can offer. And even then, I'm not I'm not going to go out picketing for it.
Right. Your entire life, you want to get to this moment to make all this money. And like I texted you when this news first broke, it's like now you become a greedy idiot. Like, where does that change? Where does it change from I'm going to save my family to I'm the best there ever was? Like, how does that change in your mind?
I'm not saying I have no problem with Jonathan Taylor and the agent saying, I want to make this money. However, again, we don't know what's happening behind closed doors, if there's even anything being offered by the Colts. I have no problem shooting for the moon. But everybody knows you're not going to get that. You're not going to get that amount of money in a contract. If they give it to you, fantastic, it worked. But at some point, you have to find a middle ground. And I think Jonathan Taylor, I would have no problem if Jonathan Taylor, or if news came out tomorrow that Jonathan Taylor signed some deal worth $11 or $12 million annual value. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that. Like, he's a running back. He's still sort of a bell cow if you look at their offense. And he makes the most sense with, Anthony Richardson being on a rookie contract. Right. But 16, 17 million, no, that just doesn't make sense.
Agreed. Speaking of disgruntled running backs, this one's for lawful reasons or unlawful, whatever. So Joe Mixon, of course, he's had problems with the law in the past. And this most recent one, like the felony charge for menacing or whatever it was found like he was not guilty of it or whatever. So Joe Mixon, I keep on saying Jonathan. Joe Mixon has now told people like ESPN he's not going to talk to them. Well, NFL's going to laugh in his face at that one. I think Joe Mixon, it is funny how long he's lasted with the baggage that he does have behind him. But for him to get mad at media outlets for daring implying that he was a problem again is pretty funny. Like, if you ever hit, like, I was a class clown in school. As much as I did not appreciate when a teacher would just automatically assume that I was the person doing something stupid, my history allowed her to do that. For fair or not fair. This guy has done stupid stuff in the past, and now he's saying, ESPN, you wronged me and you know what you did. Dude, shut up. Just shut up. Come on, man.
Yeah, I'm curious how you are able to skirt around reporters' questions. Obviously, you can't not talk to the media. We learned that with the Marshawn Lynch.
Yep.
I mean, I think that's the play. If these specific outlets are going to ask you questions,
they're going to want to ask them even more.
Well, if these specific outlets are going to ask you questions, you can do the old "I'm just here so I don't get fined," or you can give them, a one-word answer. If you're answering them, I don't see the problem. And
Right.
I understand.
Oh. Aaron understands.
This, that, and the other.
Okay,
But these specific outlets,
you
for
said,
lack of a better word, have.
Wait. You said I understand, and then you cut
Why
off.
does it keep going out? It's so weird.
I don't know.
I understand Joe Mixon has a history, and rightfully so. People want to be, inquiring about that history. But it does seem like these specific outlets, especially ESPN, just they don't focus on sports as much anymore.
Yeah.
It always seems to be, they have this gotcha journalism, this woke media, and I think Joe Mixon, he's not the first one to do this. So this isn't a new concept. I'm not mad at Joe Mixon, and these media outlets have the right to ask whatever questions they want. But when you ask these questions and you get these answers, then that's your time. That's it.
It's a fair point. I mean, I don't have much else to say about it, but it is. This one struck me as weird because it is Joe Mixon. Like, if it was somebody like another running back who didn't have baggage, I would understand that. But the fact that this dude does have baggage kind of struck me the wrong way, but that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, we're not in the inner circle of the camps, but it does seem to me that when things happen to people off the field, some of these outlets don't let it go.
That's
like
Deshaun Watson.
Every day you're Deshaun Watson's a little different, but eventually you would hope those go away. I don't know if Deshaun Watson's situation, if questions are ever going to go away, but how long did the Ben Roethlisberger, the rape tag stick with him? I think it's going to stick with Deshaun Watson. You're right. But some of these outlets, they just never stop. They want to hold this moral high ground for the rest of the guy's career. It's like, I made a mistake, or I didn't make a mistake and I was exonerated of it, and you guys just don't want to shut up about it. Even if I made a mistake, eventually people want to get on with their life. This new age era with social media and everything, when something good happens to a player with a checkered past, or even a person, the entire social media, but remember when he killed this guy when he was drunk driving? Remember when he raped this woman? I mean, yes, things happen. I know I'm using extreme examples, but I'm just saying,
Right.
When people serve the time, I mean, I'll even go as look, I love dogs so much. I mean, anybody who knows me knows that. But when Michael Vick ever does something good, dog lovers will come out in full force. The guy served his time. He was sentenced to a crime. He served his time. I don't love the guy, but I'm not going to.
And he's done everything in his power to get back too.
And and look, I don't love Michael Vick. I don't support Michael Vick, but I'm not out there with pitchforks trying to, make him relive one of the worst moments of his life every single day. People talk about second chances, and unfortunately, some of these outlets don't ever let you move on. I probably went I probably went way too far on this subject. I feel like ESPN and SI are the worst culprits of this. They want to play this virtue signaling, higher moral ground justice, and they're some of the worst outlets. And no wonder they're dying. They're dying.
It's like they're trying to put a knife in Joe Mixon's back, but there's 3 knives in their own back.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this: if ESPN didn't broadcast live games, I would have no use for it.
Todd Bowles, or whoever, named Baker Mayfield quarterback 1 in Tampa. I know you were on the side of Baker, but this was a lose-lose situation for Todd Bowles. Team's going to stink. Yeah. He's going to get fired.
Yeah, and I have no problem with that. I don't think Todd Bowles should have been the coach when Bruce Arians stepped down, but I know there was a system put in place, and that's neither here nor there. I was putting putting myself in Todd Bowles' shoes when I decided that Baker Mayfield should be QB1. I personally think Kyle Trask should be on the field, see what he can do.
How bad is Kyle?
But you know what? I mean, trying to find the point of optimism here. I know everybody's 0-0 and this, that, and the other. They're in a weak division, but I gotta hope that Baker can find that year 2 magic that he had in Cleveland. I mean, he's got the weapons. The offensive line is halfway decent.
They have a running back who's not pissed off.
Yeah, I mean, they have a guy in second year, Rashid White. I mean, they may be able to bring back Fournette. I don't know. But, they're one of the leading Vegas candidates for Jonathan Taylor as well. If you look at that, if you look at the Vegas odds, they're one of the leading candidates. For me, that would be great as a Bucs fan, but I think that would be silly if you're Jonathan Taylor. I think it's silly if you're even the Bucs too, because you want to invest in a guy when you're not very good to begin with. I don't know if it's the right play, but anyways, I think it's
take Mike Baker. Evans in a defensive player.
Of course you would. They wouldn't trade Mike Evans. No way.
Well, he's got a big contract though.
But would I trade a first right now if I could guarantee I signed Jonathan Taylor?
If I'm the Bucs and I have a top 5 pick, heck no.
Well, the thing is, does Jonathan Taylor get me into the middle of the pack, though?
No. Well, in that division, maybe, but you're going to get run over by the rest of the league, though.
The question is what I would really love. I mean, I haven't said this publicly yet, but I would really love them to tank and get Caleb Williams next year.
Fair.
But I think there's a lot of teams trying to do that. But I don't know. It's a tough spot here. Going back to the original topic, though, I think this is the right move for Todd Bowles. He has to go with experience. However, I saw a prop bet out there, and this one of the podcasts talked about it. Will Kyle Trask play more games than Baker Mayfield? I kind of want to say yes, because 1, I think Baker may get benched, and 2, I think Baker may get hurt. So Kyle Trask, I think he was plus 240 to play more games than Baker Mayfield this season.
I mean, you can see you're falling off in the first 5 weeks. Sure, he plays 10, 11 games. Let's go.
Never know. I do want to see what comes of Kyle Trask, but as a competitive standpoint, I think it's got to be Baker as the QB1.
ShaneyGolf.com, code AMDrive for 15% off. When we come back, we're talking this GOAT debate in the NBA. So many of those. But Michael Jordan had some thoughts. We'll be right back to the AM Drive. My favorite cow.
You call me a cow?
That's what I do when I do this right here.
No, I understand that. It's just very strange. All right, speaking of cows, you see this one up here? It represents the folks at Agridime, the finest meats, the highest quality, delivered directly to your door. You go to agridimestore.com or you go to mikeandaarondrive.com and click our cow friend right there. Click that logo. If you want the finest in meats and 10% off of those fine meats, you have to use code AMDrive. Get you 10% off at checkout. Make sure you let them know that the boys at AM Drive sent you. Once again, Agridime and AM Drive, a match made in grilling heaven.
Helps us out tremendously. Hashtag it. And also, they're not nothing burgers.
No, there's something burgers for sure.
It's good stuff. Have you gotten any burgers yet?
We ordered some ribeyes from them. We haven't. I seasoned them up. Actually, they're in the fridge right now. We're probably gonna have them on. I would say Sunday.
Tell me how they are. You gotta tell us Monday how they taste.
Okay, we'll do.
Good. So Michael Jordan texted Stephen A. Smith, per Stephen A. Smith, at 5:54 a.m. Eastern the other day, and said Magic Johnson is the best point guard of all time. He said if we're talking point guard, you have to take into account the floor general and stuff like that. And the immediate reaction from people is Stephen A. didn't get that text. Well, yes, Stephen A. did, because I'm sure those guys talk after their playing days are over because they still want to be heard. So Michael Jordan, who is not the best evaluator of talent, Michael could go, Chris. But Aaron, I have a twofold question for you because I know my answers. Number one, should Michael Jordan's opinion matter in your mind? And number two, is he correct?
All right. Number one, I think everybody's theoretical opinion matters on things like this because I think opinions create a consensus, with the exception of Mike and LeBron, because I feel like that's a 50-50 kind of debate. I feel like there's literally 50-50 on these people's sides. Yeah, I mean, I think of course Michael Jordan's opinion matters. I mean, that's to say, okay, for the people who think that Michael Jordan's the second best player, that's like saying Marc Messier's opinion doesn't matter because he's only the second greatest scorer of all time. Of course he does. He's one of the GOATs. He's one of the legends. Of course his opinion matters. And I do believe that in the true position of point guard, what it was defined as and what it's supposed to be defined as, Magic Johnson's a better point guard. Yep. And the reason I say is this, is Steph Curry is not a point guard. He's just not. He is, to me, he's a shooting guard who was plugged into the one role because the true shooting guard, Klay Thompson, can't play anywhere else on the court. Where are you going to play Klay Thompson? He's too small for small forward. He's too small for 3, 4, and 5, and he I don't think he handles the rock like a 1. So no. Steph, being the all enigmatic player that he is, I know you're not a big Steph guy, but he is also one of the greatest players of all time. True point guard. If you want to define the true position, he's not even the second best point guard of all time. But Steph Curry is one of the greatest players of all time who just kind of strangely doesn't fit into the position that he primarily plays.
I love how your lips just caught up to you. That was great.
Oh, really? Something's going on over here. I don't know.
No, you're right. And I think in the modern day NBA, it is like guard, forward, center, pretty much.
Right.
And even if there is a center, although Jokic is trying to bring that back.
I was going to say that's an extension of forward.
Right. So in terms of even modern day NBA, it really depends on your preference. But I think objectively speaking, and I'm not the biggest Steph fan, but doesn't mean I don't know that he hasn't changed the game. But for better or worse, though, is another thing.
I argue he changed the game for worse.
Right.
In my opinion.
That's a good debate. And also, was he the beneficiary of a league that allows a three-point shot? If you can say he changed the game because he jacked them up every day, doesn't mean that somebody else couldn't have done that. No, I'm not saying that there's more than one Steph Curry. I'm just saying in general, I think another person would have came along and did it. But Magic Johnson is the floor general guy. He won it when Kareem was older. He won it in his first year, I think. And even winning aside, the whole point, it depends on what you want on your team. Now, would I take Chris Paul is more like a Magic Johnson than he is a Steph Curry. But you taking Chris Paul or Steph Curry? I don't know.
Depends on what I'm trying to do with my team, but more than likely, no.
Right. It's tough.
Yeah, if I've got a team full of LeBron, Kevin Durant, and Anthony Davis. Yeah, I don't want Steph Curry on that team. I want Chris Paul.
And the mistake people make is saying point guard. Like, you're right. Like, that's an old position. It depends on what your philosophy is. And I think people who have arguments for both sides are both right. So
sure. And like I said, you can, as Michael Jordan says, specifically, he says, first you must define the point guard position to really have that debate. And when he was in the league and coming up, and even probably up to maybe when like a guy like Russell Westbrook came in the league, it was primarily a facilitating the quarterback of the offense,
who
if
could
you will.
shoot a three?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't really shoot for threes. Remember when Boston won the title? Rajon Rondo couldn't hit a mid-range jump shot.
And Tony Parker, all he took was mid-range. He didn't even take 3-pointers.
Right. I mean, so like you said, the game has changed, albeit in my opinion, I would say for the worse in terms of just the amount of threes that are jacked up and, the defenselessness, I guess you could say. But, yeah, I mean, if I'm starting a team and you're telling me I have to start with a point guard, I'm starting with Magic Johnson every day.
I think a lot of people would. But again, it depends on your philosophy. That's your philosophy. I love it.
And neither's wrong. That's just my opinion. So,
love it.
All right, that's going to do it here for us. I know you're sad. No Fantasy Draft Friday today. We will come back with a banger next week. Maybe something NFL related as we get closer to the season. But in the meantime, enjoy your sports weekend. We will see you guys on Monday. For Michael Carvelis, I'm Aaron Crouch saying gamble responsibly. And of course, as always,
drive safe.